Many say diamonds are forever, and initially we thought digital games would last the test of time. Recently, Sony stated that they would be pulling the PS3, PS Vita, and PSP stores from existence. That alone gives me pause to buy digital only. With new consoles from Sony and Microsoft offering digital-only variants, is now the time to go all digital, or should we hold on to dear life to our physical media? I'm David, aka TheeNerdyDad.
And I'm Peter, aka Stubbs, aka Stubborn Pixel.
And this is BRB Gaming.
Roll that intro.
Stubbs, how's it going, man?
Oh man, it's been interesting. It's been an interesting few weeks. I've been trying out some new handhelds. Got myself a RG351V, a Pieboy DMG finally put together. I gotta say, of the two, I like the 351V. It's can't argue, and Burnick knows what they're doing.
Yeah, so for me, when I saw the original Retroid Pocket with the 6 face buttons, the analog stick, and the D-pad, I was like, okay, this is a setup for me. And then I saw the back, and there weren't any triggers. And that kind of killed it for me. Because, yeah. But, if you took the front of that and the back of the 351V, that would be up to N64. It would be, the perfect handheld for that. It would have all the correct face buttons, all the correct rear buttons, and there would be no sacrifices in figuring out what's my C buttons going to look like? Do I have to have another analog stick for that? Because it's just so clunky. How do you like the 351V though? I really, when it first came out, and what color did you get?
Well, let's see, I'll pull it out here. So here is the V. I got the black translucent. This is kind of the smoky black look. I do like that it has the R2 and L2 buttons in the back there. It's nice clickiness. Can you hear that? You got that standard RG350 kind of mushy button feel on the face buttons here.
Kind of similar to a DMG.
It's very similar to a DMG, and it's a lot wider and bigger than you would think. It's kind of thin, but it's nice and wide and big. And it's good for big hands like mine.
You're gonna sell me on it, Stubbs. You're gonna sell me on it.
For $100, you can't go wrong with it.
I'll wait for a sale.
There will be a sale, I'm sure, especially when they come up with the next device.
Then that one will be so much better.
It will, I know. Although I keep looking for the ultimate device. I think we're all on the look for just that one ultimate single emulation device that beats them all. And to this day in 2021, I have not found a single ultimate device. Everyone has compromises. Everyone has something that lacks a little bit. And so I just have just a skew of devices that I kind of switch between. My hand gets cramped up on the Retroid Pocket 2, switch over to a DMG style handheld. My hands, I don't like that I don't have a right analog stick. Switch back to the Retroid Pocket. Maybe pull up my Nintendo Switch if I want to forego achievement hunting for a day or two because my dopamine is just out of control.
One day Nintendo will get it right and start an achievement Switch Online system or something like that.
They do, but I almost hope that they don't because it kind of is it's like
a respite from the hunt.
Yeah, it is. It's just focusing on the game, which ultimately is what it should be all about. And I think I'm maturing as a gamer because I can say now, I don't have to have achievements. It's a nice side effect to have that extra little attaboy, but I don't know. I've been having fun on the Switch with Donkey Kong, Tropical Paradise a little bit. Cathonix and I have been playing that. And we were just doing that in our camper this weekend while we were running away from exploding sewage. And
that sounds terrible. I know some stories of campers in gray water and having empty out the poop tank and all that, but never experienced it for myself. Was it how on earth, Stubbs?
It was. We are new to RVing, and I think we should start another podcast just called RVing Gone Wrong, because every trip we've taken, something has gone wrong. Our first trip, our refrigerator vent cover flew off on the freeway. our second. It's like, oops. And I just look out and I'm like, oh, that was probably important. We probably needed that. We replaced it, no problem. Our second trip, God, what did we do then? Oh, the salt. We left the salt shaker like opened a little bit, and so it flew all around the camper on the drive, and just salt was filled in our electrical sockets. Salt was just everywhere on everything, and I'm like, well, there's not gonna be any ghosts haunting this trailer. I was very salty about it, so I had to buy a hand vac and clean that up. And now this trip was a doozy. We severed our brake line, so we severed the electrical connection that controls the braking system on the trailer. That also allows for us to do turn signals and show people that we're braking. So that got severed in half. It's because I drove a little too fast and jackknifed a bit, and it cut that cord. And then broke the bathroom fan for some reason. I don't know why. It just happened. The worst thing though, we pulled into our campsite, and we start to hook everything up, get the chairs out, get the rug out, get the food out. The kids are at the picnic table and just talking, having fun. And I notice, there's soap suds coming out of the gray water tank in the ground. That's weird. I'm not going to worry about that. Let's hook up the water and everything. Turn on the water. I'm not really getting anything out of here. Then the park ranger comes up and she's like, "You guys doing good?" Good. I'm like, "Yeah, we got some soap suds coming out of your gray water tank here." She's like, "Oh, that's not good." And then she looks and turns to her left and she's like, "Well, luckily you don't have anything coming out of the sewage, the black water pipe down there. That would be bad." And I'm like, "Yes, it would." 2 seconds later, the top of the sewage pipe explodes open and soap suds and feces just explode out onto our campsite. Like, it's flowing towards the children. It's flowing towards me and Chthonics. And the park ranger runs around to the kids. She's like, "Girls, get in the RV right now." And I'm like, this isn't happening. And now I'm a clean freak. I'm a germaphobe.
And you're like, so I don't know what to do.
I'm like, I'm sitting there and like picking up the hoses, like picking up things off the ground, like trying to avoid the shit river. I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst moment of my entire life. I quit RVing. Like, I'm just going to sell this thing back to the dealership. Screw this. And Chthonics is running around the campsite, like putting chairs away, throwing all of her nice things, back. My RP2 is sitting there about to get covered. And luckily that gets saved. And the children, of course, are safe.
Yeah, of course.
So the lady's like, "All right, you got to leave." She's like, "We need to clean this out. You need to leave here." Then this guy, we'll call him Matt, from North Carolina, he comes down. He starts laughing. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." He's like, "That's my fault. I got a washing machine in my RV, and I just dumped 150 gallons of suds into the system. Looks like the system can't handle it here, so it's flowing out of your pipes. And sorry about this. Oh, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Matt, you seem like a nice guy." And he's like, "What kind of internet you got in this bad boy?" And I'm like, Matthew, I'm not here to be, I have enough friends, okay? I'm not here to be your bud. You screwed up my night. It's been a bad week at work. It's just, and his kids are coming over with no masks on. They're getting up in my kids' grill and like, "Hey, let's play." And that's cute and everything. Put masks on your kids. Like, come on. Some of us aren't vaccinated yet. Just doing a little vent session here. And so we move campsites. Park ranger gives us an extra night. And she's like, "Why don't you guys take an extra night? This has been horrendous." And so we're happily stuck now camping for an extra day. I'm like, you know what? Yes, we will stay an extra night. We need a redo. This is the worst. So we finally get settled in.
Sometimes you just need a do-over, man. You just need a do-over.
So Friday night went how it went, and Saturday and Sunday were better. So we came back today and in a better mood. So,
oh man,
which thanks for letting me reschedule to today. I know we were supposed to record yesterday.
It's no problem. But speaking of recording today, so digital versus physical, Stubbs, where do you lie to kind of take the mind off of the crap of the weekend? And
well, before that, we didn't get to you. Like, how are you doing?
Oh, kind of funny you should mention vaccination. I was able to, through work, get my first and second shot. Second shot was on Friday and kind of knocked me out a little bit for the
Ah,
past couple of days. But I'm
but
fine.
congrats.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Well,
It
good.
happened.
Did you go with the Pfizer or the Moderna?
Moderna was what they were having around here, so
That'll
it was one of those
be
things.
good.
Like, it was one of those things. I'm a very analytical guy. I code for a living and work in IT, and I was like, well,
Yep.
I could go out because I work for the government, so it's like quote unquote essential employees. I could have got it when it was first available. I'm like, let me let me wait it out a little bit, see a few of the a subset of the population get it, make sure anything bad happens or doesn't happen. And now with like
I've
Johnson
been
and
the same way.
Johnson, yeah, now with Johnson and Johnson doing what that fiasco, I was glad I waited. But yeah, just did the two. My wife was able to get it because she works as a substitute teacher. So, but yeah, that was kind of my weekend. I had plans to move some stuff around, but I was just knocked on my butt. Played some.
I good.
Yeah,
Good. You got some time to yourself.
yeah. I recently finished a DMG build. Still little touches here and there that I need to clean up, but popped in Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening and been playing through that again. And yeah, it's been fun, holding in my hands like that. I built this, and I can understand like you coming from the Pieboy DMG and like preferring the Ambernick one over it. Their like ergonomics from a big gray brick to something like that. But there's something about like holding your childhood in your hands and just playing through it on like a much
Absolutely.
better screen. And I modded it so it has like a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, so I'll probably never charge it.
Yeah, buddy.
But yeah, that was my weekend.
That's a good weekend. I'm sorry you're feeling a little under the weather, but at least it's for a really good cause and it's a good
Yeah,
reason
definitely.
to feel crappy.
Mask up out there, people, and stay safe.
Stay safe. Getting my Pfizer shot, my first one next week. So on
Cool.
my day before my B day, actually turning 36 this year. This is no midlife crisis yet.
No,
Not this year, anyways. That was last year.
not yet.
Wearing a lot of Hawaiian shirts.
Oh, it's a coming. Bowling tees and Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah. Although the RV might be a sign of midlife crisis coming. I don't know. We'll see. So good. So anyways, yeah, sorry to take us off course again, but this digital versus physical, you're asking sort of where I lie on the subject.
Indeed.
Well, I'll tell you. As a kid, I liked having physical media. It was cool flipping through the instruction booklets of games, and there's often like fun little like intros and maybe like a tutorial for the beginning parts of levels. Final Fantasy VII had like a cool like first area of the game walkthrough, I believe, in there in that game. Could have been FF8. It was a game. It was kind of cool having that feeling and that look, and I like seeing the collection on my shelves. As I grew older, I just sort of fell in love with what eventually people dubbed minimalism, where less stuff and what you do have on your shelves is maybe picture your family or picture someone you love, less things. And I just started purging. Every year I just purge stuff, and it sucked because I wanted to purge this big collection of like DVDs and games, but I still wanted to own that stuff. And so early 2000s, eventually people are starting to have digital stores, and you could go and purchase the stuff digitally. MP3s, you could purchase movies and TV shows online and then have that and own that. And then games. And the whole idea just kind of blew me away, and I was kind of hooked on it from the get-go. So, yes, I am now an all digital fan. I'm okay letting go of the tactile feedback and tactile feel of having a physical item. And I'm good with just having a digital representation of that. It's letting go. It involves a lot of letting go. It involves being okay with something that's not 100% tangible. I don't know.
Mhm.
But to me, the trade-off is worth it. And, and if you can't find the media through the digital store any longer, for instance, with everything going on with Sony lately, well, sooner or later, people who emulate will find an option. Pirates will come online. They'll find a way to get that content online for you. So you're not going to lose that content. And besides this, if you've already purchased something, for instance, on the Sony store, well, you can still download that content, and there's no set end date to that I really know of.
Yeah, it was that story like interests me a lot because I don't really, even though I work in IT, like I don't understand the semantics behind it, the minutia of keeping those servers up for purchasing. But for me, that would seem like cutting potential revenue streams. But I guess the revenue is so small that it's not worth keeping the lights on there. I thought they were taking down the stores entirely, meaning they were cutting you off from your purchases, which has happened before.
I thought that at first too.
Yeah, in other outlets, I believe for a while, the Alan Wake games like weren't available anywhere because I think that was from like a licensing agreement that happened.
Yeah, that was a music license gone wrong. They should have just gone with original music in that one because the license ran out, and so they had no choice but to delist it, and that sucked if you're an Alan Wake fan if you don't have that game somewhere.
Mm-hmm. But I think it eventually came back because I was able to download it from Steam because my wife's like an adventure horror fan.
Yes, yeah.
I haven't played
Now
it myself.
I really highly recommend it. I played it for the first time in January of this year. Chthonics and I sat down and played through both games in the series. First one is it's a better game, but it's really good, and I'm glad that it's back out there. They found a new publisher, I think, and they re-upped on the licenses, so we're good for Alan Wake for now.
I think Scott Pilgrim, that beat 'em up game, had a similar issue, but that was more, I think, the creator licensing for that property ran out, and that was pulled, and recently was re-released on current gen. But that's I think that may or may not have been a physical release as well. But like if you had the Alan Wake disc to put into your Xbox or whatever, that didn't really affect you.
That's
so
true.
You have situations like that, to where you'll be completely cut off. Stubbs, I know you got a new Xbox. Did you go for a Series S or a Series X? And if you did get a Series X, if there was a digital only variant that had the same horsepower, would you have just opted for that?
I am crazy, so I bought both.
Sorry.
Well, I don't own both.
I'm like, what now?
I don't own both now. So I started with the S, which was crazy to even find one. But it seems like people weren't on the drops. People weren't going for the S right away. They were always going for the X. So it was a little bit easier to get an S. So I got an S in a bundle from GameStop. And I played it for a while. And I also have the Xbox One X. And I was comparing the two side by side. And I'm like, the One X actually is a higher resolution and can keep up on a higher FPS rate on, for instance, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Compared to the S, it's downscaled. And I noticed on a bunch of games, the One X was performing better. Looked into it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is just a thing. The S is supposed to be an all-digital console, and I liked that idea, so I bought it. But in the end, it's underpowered. And I just became frustrated. I'm like, this is not next gen. So I ended up selling it on eBay, and I, again, somehow came across a Series X through Walmart, I think. And so we bought that. And now that is a beast. That is a definite step up from the One X. And so I was satisfied with that. And I threw the One X in my RV, and that's where that lives now, although I don't really use it. Um, yeah, and then if they made an all digital version of the Series X, I would buy that instead.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that I prefer not to have a disk drive because I'm not going to have physical games.
Now, for me, the option is appealing to have a disk drive on a system because I don't, you know, fathers as we are, like new releases don't find us very often. Like there's not really the luxury there to go out for every game that we want to grab it at, like, you know, the $60 or $70 asking price that they have nowadays. So
Yeah,
you
I wait
could,
for a deal.
yeah, you can get the, you know, the Mercari deal or the, you know, the
Yeah,
Craigslist deal or the marketplace deal, or God forbid, you know, go to a GameStop in this day and age and, you know, pick up a used game, because they're really expensive, and it's kind of the same for me as well. Like I maybe bought like 3 games a year that are full price, and mostly because like we a couple of guys and I stream on Sundays, and we usually try and get new releases because we look for like very specific games to play, Souls like co-ops, and that's what we like shoot for. So that's the
yep,
games that I buy new, but other than that, it's like what's on Steam sale, what's on, you know, what's free on Epic, what's, you know, what's free on Twitch Prime,
right,
and that's those are the games that I get, and those are all digital. But it's not something that I really, you know, hold on to. Now,
right,
for the stuff that I buy, I don't really like the idea of it, you know, one day just poofing. Now, PC gaming is a different animal than console gaming because the
yeah.
digital the digital world for console gaming is still fledgling at this point. Do you agree?
Yes, I would agree. People are now more comfortable with digital only on PC because they're just used to it now. People, publishers quietly stopped producing physical media for their games years ago when Steam became a big thing. It just casually kind of went away and nobody really said anything. And now we're used to it. PC gaming, everyone assumes you're going to pick up a copy digital. There really isn't another option. Sometimes for it's almost like a novelty thing. You can still buy physical games sometimes. They'll release one, or collector's items or something. But really, I mean, digital is what it's like for PC. And on console, people are still debating which to go with.
Yeah. And I I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence in both. It's very much like the price is what really drives me there. And what's so you mentioned piracy as kind of the like saving grace for archiving content, which reminds me of a story I heard on the BBC. They were trying to find all the archival footage of Doctor Who, and
Yep.
they lost like a lot of the original like first season episodes. and
I read
and
about that.
yeah, and listeners and Stubbs, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it ended up being like this guy in the middle of nowhere had VHS tapes of like the first season and like the second season, or he had recorded like every episode of Doctor Who on VHS tape. And the BBC was like, can we take these and archive them for our archives? And those are the versions that are archived at the BBC, somebody's bootlegs that originally aired.
Right? This is what I'm talking about. That guy's a national hero. Like, come on. The archivists, now they're called pirates. Although for the artful side of that, I think you can still call them archivists. They're saving things. They're keeping history alive by doing these things. It's not about taking money away from the publishers. Sometimes it's the only way to have the content available at all in the universe.
And a lot of that too, like it's at the point where every dollar that the publisher, the developer can make is done at that point in time.
Yeah.
Like there's no new copies being out. And really the only way for them to make money is through digital purchases, because from a distribution standpoint, the costs, like for a conglomeration like Steam or Epic, like the costs to keep the lights on for that is very minimal.
Yeah.
It may be, exponential when dealing with a smaller platform like Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft, but I think Microsoft has been doing the best in terms of backwards compatibility and availability. Like you could still, correct me if I'm wrong, Stubbs, but like you could go get a Xbox 360 CD or DVD and put it in your console, and it'll prompt your console to download a patch online to make that playable.
It will.
And
Yes, absolutely.
which blows my
And
mind.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. And I love picking up like original OG Xbox titles just through their online store, because they make a lot available. Now it's true, if I went out and bought a physical game from OG Xbox or 360, I could pop that bad boy in and it would work. It may or may not have a patch to make it sort of optimized, but it'll work.
And that, that's kind of the ideal scenario that I think about, like in the future. Even though, like, if I have these physical mediums, and I'm like, really, I've been Sony for the past like 4 console generations, like PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4.
Yeah.
And with what Xbox has been doing with Game Pass and with xCloud and with their consoles, it's becoming too convenient, I would say,
Yes.
for the couple of games that are out there. I mean, if I bought PS5 today, it would just be a Demon Souls box. And
Actually, I have a dirty little secret. I'll be right back.
Oh dear. All right. He's back.
I'm not 100% all digital. I have a physical copy of Demon Souls right here for the PS5. I also have The Last of Us Part 2 for PS4.
And if I ever get a PS5, I will liberate that Demon Souls from you.
Oh fuck.
He's throwing games.
Thank God I finished that beer already.
God.
I'm only 1 beer in. I'm not wasted, I promise. Even Call of Duty. There's a reason why I have these 5 physical games. And here's why.
Tell us, Stubbs. Tell us.
Deals. Like you were saying. I found when I got the new next-gen console, I was itching. I finished Last of Us Part 1. I was itching to play Part 2. The online store had it for $60. And I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm not going to drop $60 in a game anymore. Target had it for 50% off. They had 1 copy left in my Target by me. Chthonics and I raced at near midnight before they closed and went and physically bought this game just so we could play through it. And I'm glad they did. It was a good deal. Now I'm going to pick it up digital when it comes on sale and take this to GameStop or something. And the same story with the rest of these. Well, these came in a bundle with the PS5, so I have no choice. I was supposed to give Demon Souls to Thor, but I played it once and I was like, no, I'm keeping this.
You can send the pain onto someone else if you do so choose.
And I could, and I'm terrible at that game. But, and then these ones just were on sale, so I don't know. Like, I'm not a completely black or white guy. There's exceptions, even though my OCD is nearly complete. There are exceptions.
Well, the thing about that is you have that contract with yourself that, like, even though I have these discs, if I can get it digitally for around the same price that I paid for it, I'll do it. And then these discs will move on to someone else through whatever means. And
Yes,
that's kind of, that's kind of how I feel. I have some old games. Like there are games that I have that like have a lot of nostalgia. Like I have the original Final Fantasy VII that I played when I was a kid. Like I had, and I believe lost, the copy of Legend of Dragoon, which was the like first JRPG that I beat when I was a kid.
but I bet you have your legal ROM backup of it, don't you?
Yeah, I actually have the instructional booklet still. I have no
Oh,
idea.
nice.
I have no idea where the game went, but I have the little booklet that came with it, and I feel like that's enough for me to like pick it up and thumb through it and get those memories. But I 100% that game. That's
That's
how
awesome,
much
man.
that's how much I love Legend of Dragoon, and Sony
I
needs to remake that game like somehow. It would not
well,
fit in the times that we live in, like, but it's such a good game, and I there may be revisionist history.
no, no, no. I mean, since you brought it up, you and I were talking last week. I've never played that game before, so I actually just picked it up a couple days ago and started a save file. So I'm on my first playthrough of Legend of Dragoon. So far it's pretty good. I like the story.
It's so much more engaging than a lot of other JRPGs in the combat system because you have to time your shots just right to get the full damage
Yeah,
out of it. Which
yeah.
was
It's a little
which
bit
at the time,
tactical.
yeah, at the time was like a completely like new thing. Like QTEs weren't a glimmer in anyone's eye at that point.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's cool. I think Sony published a really good game then
Yeah.
on across 4 discs too, which is a behemoth. I thought they were competing with FF8, and I always wrote it off as like, I'm not going to play that game. That's just a wannabe, you know, role playing game. But I've heard from a lot of people over the years that I'm completely in the wrong, and I need to play it. So I'm doing that.
As Shuhei Yoshida, who went on to be the president of Sony Worldwide Studios, I believe. And now he's kind of stepped down from that role to be kind of like a indie liaison. And I'll be corrected if I'm wrong there. He was a big part of that game. And I was when he got that promotion, I was like, here it comes, boys. Here comes the remake that we all want. And no, it didn't happen. But
Let's
I
do it.
hold out
Oh,
hope.
well, maybe they'll at least do like an HD remaster and just upscale it to 4K and call it good. Like that'd be fine, right?
Yeah. Or something like FF7 remake. Like that's basically I always thought FF7 if they ever remade that, Sony would Square would be in a bad place and be like, "Oh shit, we need to print money at this point." Cuz
I mean, they
it
are,
would. Yeah, and they would.
and it is, even though it doesn't have the gold saucer, which I'm only a little butthurt about in the first one. But
It's
I hear in the next one, yeah, they'll
Mhm.
add the gold saucer back. I
Yeah,
like my mini games.
true. A lot of really good
Cloud
mini
on a
games.
snowboard.
Yeah, Chocobo
Oh, so
Racing.
good. Chocobo racing. Just
Indeed.
the mechanics. Yeah, the all the mini games.
So we talked about deals in digital and even
Yeah.
deals in physical, but I pulled up a stats. I can't say it, but it was a statistics website that year over year since 2009 did digital to physical purchases, and exponentially year over year, digital became more and more prevalent. So, do you think that's because like we're just a bunch of lazy folks and don't want to go out to video game stores, or is it because like we're cooped up, or you know, is it the prices?
Well, I think you were on the money with the lazy part, because when I really drill down and I think about this, okay, I don't want to get up off my couch and swap discs around. If I want to play another, like, okay, I have barely played any of these physical games I have. I haven't played Sackboy because I have to get up off my ass, walk over to the PS5, put the disc in, start it up. It just lives on my coffee table. I instead opt to go for one of the digital games sitting there on the console already, and I just quickly play like King Oddball or Tomb Raider or whatever. So I think laziness nails it on the head pretty well. And that's the second factor for me.
Yeah, I think too. It's very much like I want to purchase something, have it download, and then be able to play it like when I get off work, or even
Yeah.
like they have the pre-downloads now to where it's ready at
Yeah.
midnight when the game comes out. Which, I mean, how more convenient can you get with that? And we're such a our society has become so hooked on instant gratification that,
Yeah.
you know, you go to a digital store, you push a button, you say I want it, and you get it. And then even for some people, the downloading is like, hey, I need gig plus internet
Yeah.
so that I could get this in like less than a minute than waiting like a half an hour to download my video game. It's it's
Yeah,
just interesting.
I'm guilty of that. I'm definitely paying for a higher tier of Comcast because I want things faster.
Yeah. I mean,
It's true.
I'm the same, because the price of it is very similar to what I was buying. So I get a little faster speed, and my games come to me quicker, and I can stream stuff from Netflix, and yeah,
And I just realized the caveat when you buy digital is you don't actually own that game like you bought a physical copy of it. You're purchasing a license and the right to play it, but you
Mhm.
don't own it. And so you have to think about that because it's true. Like if it's a good deal and you're good with having it for now, realizing you may not be able to access that title forever, um, then that's the price you have to pay. That's the trade-off you make there.
So then, Stubbs,
Yeah.
why buy it at all when you can do video games as a service? So right now, I do not own any movies whatsoever, either
Me neither.
physically or digitally. I own no movies. I stream movies. You probably stream as many movies as you watch, anyways, or I rent them.
It's
So,
true. Except for the specialty niche stuff, I do tend to hoard those away because you can't find it anywhere. Like
yeah.
Mega Man cartoons.
Oh, man, I'll have to hit you up on where you found those, because, like, that there's some things that like I want to introduce my son to that I watched when I was a kid that you just can't find anymore.
Yeah.
Um, like there's this kind of the tangent for a moment. I found a YouTube channel called Toy Galaxy on
Ooh.
YouTube, and they basically do like 15 to 20-minute like little documentaries on like basically the stuff that we loved when we were kids. Like anything from like all the commercial grade like cartoons that were just like 30-minute commercials for toys, to like stuff like 80s TV shows like Knight Rider, and anything with a toy tie-in. They do these short well
I
documentaries
love
on.
that.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, definitely,
Oh,
if you want to go down a YouTube rabbit hole, Toy Galaxy, it's been a lot of fun. But like,
I I love YouTube rabbit holes. I've been down one for about a week on the show Cheers.
really? Like a documentary
Yeah.
like about Cheers?
There are no documentaries about Cheers, so I've been trying to like scrounge up ones, and I might just make my own at this point because there's not really anything out there.
I just
You gotta go like deep page 6 Google searches for good Cheers facts.
you're learning about why Shelley was replaced by Christy Alley.
Yeah, I just started that
The
episode.
real reason.
It's the what? Yeah, what's the real? And now Shelley Long gave two separate answers over the years. First one, she's like, "Oh, I want to do movies. I want to focus on movies." But then, no, she's like, "I never said that. I said I wanted to have more time with my kids and my husband." Which is it, Shelley? Which is it?
We'll never know.
I think I need to make a documentary about this.
You
Yeah,
gotta hunt her down.
we
We'll
will
find
know.
the answer.
I will hunt Shelley Long down. Just I promise you, dear listener, I will find her and I will ask her, what's the real story? Why did you leave Cheers at the end of season 5? Why didn't you marry Sam Malone? He was the love of your life. Sure, you guys don't get along, but you loved each other, and love doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay, in alternate universe subs, let's really go on this tangent for a moment. So in an alternate universe, okay, at the end of season 5 of Cheers, we have like an office moment. Like where Ted Danson and Shelley ride off into the sunset, and then like Woody inherits the bar. And that's kind of where it goes from there.
Yes. And you're not far off from the when how they have a live studio audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't want the studio audience to leak the fact that what was happening at the end of season 5. So they filmed an alternate version of the season finale for the studio audience and went in secret to film the actual one. So the alternate one did have Woody inheriting the bar and did have Sam and Shelley like getting married and going off and doing their
Get out
thing.
of town.
No.
I've never watched Cheers avidly.
I thought you're a Cheers diehard, so you kind of knew this, but you're on the money for what the writers were like. We'll have people think this. It's really fascinating to do a deep dive into 80s sitcoms for some reason for me. All the drama that they don't talk about, they're so happy looking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to just tear them down and just be like, you know what? Let's be real here. All right. Let's get into it. Was the 80s. Nobody was happy. Come on.
And probably on Peacock, you can watch every episode Cheers till your heart's content, or Paramount. I can't remember what channel that originally aired on.
I think it's on Peacock and also on Hulu right now.
Nice. I might have to look at that. But
it's good.
Speaking of Peacock and Hulu, games as a service, we have xCloud, we have PS Now, there's Nintendo Switch Online.
Yes, singing my praises.
Why even buy games at this point?
It's true. And I ask myself that every time a deal comes up on PlayStation Network and I buy something, and I'm like, why did I just buy that? I know I'm to be cursed, and the next game available for PS Now next month or PS Plus is going to be this game, and it always is. Like a month or eventually. And maybe within a year, that game will be released as a free title through streaming. And I'm like, I don't need to buy anything. If I'm okay just playing what's offered to me, like I'm okay with streaming movies and TV shows, I don't ever need to buy a game again. But yet the deals happen, and I see the deals, and they're so like 80% off, and I'm like, but I want to have it. But I want to have it on my digital shelf. I want to have, I don't know, any one of many different games.
But you just want to have it. And that's the thing. But the thing kind of to bring it back around to where we started, like there's licensing that happens in those deals, and you have to be okay with those games literally not being accessible. Where we have, like, for example, I started playing Spiritfarer on Xbox Game Pass for PC. Well, I don't have Xbox Game Pass for PC anymore because I wasn't using it. It was just like this monthly thing that was coming out. If I end up getting a Series X or something, I'll probably pick it back up again, because if you're in the ecosystem, there's really no point to not having it. However, I digress. When you're in a licensing situation, stuff falls off like Netflix and gets picked up by, Peacock, or, depending on the month that you're in. And if you're the poor bastard that starts up a video game when it's on Xbox Game Pass, and then you don't have enough time to finish it, and then it falls off the next month, what do? You have to buy it anyway.
Well, they give you like a 20% discount if you want to buy the game before it leaves Game Pass. And the funny thing about that too is, like, the games I end up usually playing, I always jump to like, okay, what's going to leave this service soon? Because I'm going to miss out on those titles. So I always jump to what's leaving the service, and I go and play those first. And if I like one of them, I'll play it till the end. And I am a procrastinator. I need pressure to do something. So I always wait for like a week left, and I'll go and pick a game like Momodora, which is an excellent game. And I'm like, I have a week to like beat this game. All right. I'm going to do that. And I get right down to the wire where it's going to leave the service the next day. And if I can beat it, like the rush from that, I'm like, yeah, I did it. There we go. And then I went and bought the game anyways because I loved it so much.
Well, I mean, for a situation like that, and especially everyone out there, just want to say indie developers, support them. Make sure that I know a guy that has bought Hollow Knight like 5-6 times over because he loves the game so much. Support indie developers. If Spiritfarer, for example, like if I had the time, I would go out and buy that game, just to support developers. But yeah, if you find a game and you love it and you played it and you're like, this was a really good game, even though you're done with it, the developers got a small piece of the pie from it being on Game Pass. And if you feel like they deserve more of your support, just go out and buy the full version if it's at a price you want to pay for it. Because if you're paying for a service like Game Pass or something like that, that money's going out anyways for all the games. And if you want to support them directly, you can do that as well. Man, we talked about Cheers. We talked about video games. We talked about Doctor Who. It's been a pretty banner episode, Stubbs. You got any final thoughts for us?
Well, yeah. I mean, you were kind of asking me the question of, am I okay with purchases kind of poofing away at the whim of a company? And I just kind of wanted to talk on that point.
Oh.
And I would say absolutely not, I think customers should be allowed to download their purchased games and then keep them offline forever. And then it's up to the customer to then put it in a locker safe somewhere and back up. But because of the way the licensing works, I think that they don't allow that. It's just like, I guess you could unplug the console and then store it in your closet forever, but it has to go in and check in with those time servers to make sure you're allowed to play the content, which there is a ticking time bomb in the PS3 and the PS4 right now, where when that clock runs out and the CMOS battery dies, you're not going to be able to play that game ever again. So PS3s especially, I was reading an article yesterday about this, in the next year or so, a couple years, you also can't play those games because your PS3's clock is going to go out and it's not going to go into the server and be able to confirm that you're allowed to play the title. Therefore, it's not going to work. Therefore, the game is worthless to you, even though you paid money for it. So
legitimate PS3s are in trouble.
Yes, legitimate PS3s are in trouble. That's why
console hacking and all that stuff may never see a podcast episode here. However, it is a thing that we know about, and that may or may not circumvent those rules.
And there's ethics around that for sure. I always say piracy is a needed thing for historical and archiving purposes, but only after the money, like literally no more money can be made from it. If there's a version of something that I can pay money that the developers will get that money, I will always choose that first. Mm-hmm. And always have legal backs, of course, dear listeners. But again, like you never really purchased that game. You purchase the right to play it for as long as it exists on the company servers. So, okay, when we're talking about the Vitas and the PSPs and the PS3s, and these platforms have really been supported far longer than I personally expected. And any company is going to want to focus on their latest and greatest. So it's kind of time, I think, for these systems to be put to bed from a corporate standpoint, and let the emulation scene, let the pirates continue the legacy, just as we do with all of our favorite niche retro systems. It's not that big of a deal to me in the long run. If I need to own something purely for nostalgic reasons, that might be an incentive to purchase the physical media for me. Like you were saying, having the instruction booklet to Legend of Dragoon, I feel the same way as you. I might own a couple things like that as a kind of a comfort blanket sitting on my shelf. But, well, with the emulation scene booming as it is, well, I don't know. I'm not so stressed out about it. And there's always going to be a way for us to play the games we want to. I mean, somebody out there will be sure of that.
Indeed. Whether it's to go back to my little venture with DMG, the funny playings, the Crixes, the easy flashes, the people who make the ODEs for the the original PlayStation, the Dreamcast, the Sega Saturn. Like, those people keep those systems alive as hardware, as original hardware to play the games as they were originally made. And companies like that create, like Ambernick and the Retroid Pocket, and those companies give us devices that allow us to be able to emulate the games that we own in
Yes.
the many ways that we can play them. And Stubbs, I do agree. Like, as long as there's gamers that want to play the games of old, there will be the means to play the games that we want to play.
And don't forget, your physical media eventually can become corrupted, becomes rotted, loses its data.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be lost to time. So digital can be forever if you go to the steps it takes to make it that way. Don't rely on a single source of failure. Don't rely on just cloud backups of your game. Don't rely on just a company having your game or it living on a server somewhere. Go ahead, take it into your own hands, build a NAS, build a network at home where you can store this stuff. As well as, probably, if you really love it, buy the physical copy. If you really love it, have that. You will always have that game. So I think that's the biggest thing, is whether it's digital or physical, if you love something, it doesn't matter. Just get it in all forms.
Hold on to it like it's your child. If it means that much to you.
Like, yeah, and if there's
like, for me,
sewage.
If there's sewage. For me, if I could ever find a collector's edition of the original Dark Souls, like that game, that there will be listeners, there will be an episode coming up. It'll be something titled "The Things Games Taught Me That Didn't Really Mean To," or something like that. Dark Souls will be the game that I talk about. But that's something that means like a lot to me, and I would go through great lengths to like find that and keep it on my shelf for infinitum, if only just to have, like, when I'm in my 70s, a rotted disc that has no data on it, but it has that, it's like a well-read book. It's like one of those things. And I suppose we've kind of come like full circle, and that these physical items have their place as well as their digital counterparts.
But if your septic system breaks and there's sewage going all over all of your physical items and media, what are you going to do then? Because then they're ruined. And I mean, maybe you'll keep them. And you're 7 years old, your back went out, man, and you're all fucked up. You can't go and bend over and clean off this stuff. You're covered in your own feces. So you need to call it professionals, and you're going to have a backup of that game somewhere.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
All right, Stubbs. If I was streaming, my old adage is to just go, if you enjoyed what you've listened to, wherever you are, however you are, feel free to tell your friends, tell whoever you think that would enjoy this, to go to and search BRB Gaming. We are available on all good podcasting platforms and some bad ones. Spotify, Apple Music, and Google being the three big ones that I could come up off the top of my head. I am the Nerdy Dad. That's TheeNerdydad. You can follow me on Twitter and find me on Twitch. And I've been joined by my good buddy
Peter, aka Stubbs, aka Stubborn Pixel.
You got any places to plug, Stubbs, or just you?
I'm just me. I'm just here for BRB Gaming, for what we're doing. And just remember, guys, in the end, all things turn to dust. We fade away, but our games don't have to. Dun dun dun.
Indeed. Be well, friends.
Be well.
And we will see y'all next week.
We'll see you next time on the BRBs.